East Hampton Village ZBA, you are live.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the East Hampton Village Zoning Board of Appeals, Friday, February 10th, 2023 meeting. First on the agenda are the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them, look them over? If everything is good, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have determinations. We have one determination today, and the entire file is available at Village Hall. The determination for John Franco and Serbai Diatis, 16 Gould Street, will be issued at the board's March 10th meeting, as we do not have a quorum for that application. Next is the application of 33 GB LLC, 33 Gingerbread Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map number 301254, to construct a 755 square foot detached garage is approved, and to install an AC condensing unit is denied. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Pam, can you poll the board?
Mr. McMullen,
Yes.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
Mr. Barris.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Rosary LLC, 146 Main Street. We've had a request to adjourn that application to our March 10th, 2023 meeting. Do we need a motion for that or anything? No?
Probably not.
Okay. So then we'll move right on to Art Fourth B Trust, care of Candace Phillips, 12 Egypt Close. I believe, Trevor, you're here. If I can just say, last meeting, I believe we were looking for clarification with two things. A revised survey, which Trevor produced for us, as well as clarification of where the pool equipment was going to be installed, if it was in its own structure or if it was going to be in the garage. And I believe, Trevor, you have information on that.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Trevor Darrell, 10 Gingerbread Lane, on behalf of the applicant. I did get clarification as to the proposed pool equipment. If any additional equipment is even needed, it would be installed interior of the existing structure. So there's no proposed exterior pool equipment being requested, so no relief is being sought with regards to that.
Okay.
And we did supply the amended survey showing the smaller proposed GFA request, which would then mirror the calculations in the application that had been submitted.
Great. You saw that, right? Do we have anyone in the audience that wants to speak regarding this application? Can you please step up to the podium? And Pam, can you swear them in?
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Sure. I'm Kathleen Murtha Kirchgessner at 48 Egypt Lane, East Hampton, New York.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are the neighbors of this applicant. Our backyard is directly on their backyard. So we are opposed to these variances because we feel the house was already granted what we understand to be a 20% increase when it was built over the maximum GFA that's allowed, as we understand it, in the village. We think that's very generous. We don't feel that if you want to add French doors to the back, I think you can do that without increasing the square footage of the house. And more importantly, we feel that the hot tub is going to be over the allowable envelope, closer to our property. It's already very close as it is. And we feel both of these things are going to negatively impact our property. A hot tub is primarily used at night. There's lights, there's, all kinds of things going on. It's going to be closer. So we feel both of these things should be denied based on the current code of the town. And we don't really see, if they really want a hot tub, it could be put somewhere else. It doesn't have to be closer to our backyard. It could be done closer to their house. There's other ways for them to do it within the allowable envelope. This is just at their convenience and at our sort of not at our convenience, if you know what I mean. So we feel that it should be denied. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to say about that, but
No, that's fine.
okay, thank you.
Does any board member have anything to add? No?
To have the applicant speak to the issues would be useful.
Sure.
Help in the consideration.
So I just received the copy of the letter that was submitted from the neighbor, and we actually got a message from code enforcement as well, as a complaint as to bamboo that had been planted. My client was not aware. She's immediately gotten in touch with her landscaper to have it removed. So, we're trying to respond to the neighbors' concerns immediately. With regards to the door, we acknowledge, but there's really no better way to do it, and we're seeking the smallest relief that we could to have that wall put in the door to the backyard. And with regards to the pool, it is the most common sense place to put it because it's the existing location of the pool. And there was no proposed lights being installed or any additional landscape lighting that was part of the application. So I don't see that concern.
Yes.
And as to their backyard, I had submitted to the last hearing, their backyard, it would be nearest their trampoline, which we had submitted to the board. So I'm not sure that the noise factor really is, competing with that component, but this isn't sort of a tit for tat. We are seeking relief from the code, but we've tried to make it the minimal request possible to accomplish the benefit to the applicant.
Great, thank you. So does anybody have anything else that they want to ask?
All right.
Sure.
All right, please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Rainer Joseph Kirchgessner, also 48 Egypt Lane.
Do you
In
swear
East
to
Hampton?
tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that the pool of the applicant is already closer to the property line than would be allowed under current zoning. And secondly, that the applicant purchased the premises just very recently, was very well aware of the conditions and the zoning law that comes with that. So now deviating from that seems to be an unreasonable request, even if the representative says it's a minor request. I'm sure it's for him a minor request because he doesn't live there. But for us, this could be a permanent change, and that will impact our life quality and the property as it is.
Great, thank you very much.
Just a procedural, I haven't had a chance to go and walk the property pursuant to the concerns as raised by the neighbors. And I was just wondering if do we keep the hearing open? What's the procedural to have comments?
Yeah, you can do that if you decide to put it over for the next.
Okay, if you'd still like to go
I
look
just
at the
proposed that,
property.
Yeah, to look with a view towards the comments that have been made.
So I would recommend then leaving the application open for next meeting. Do we need a motion and a second? Yeah.
Yes, says yes.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Great. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have Philip Shuttleworth and Paula Maria Harvey, 72 Panago Road. Yes, yes.
Name and address for the record.
Shannon McCaffrey, Dewey's Planning, 265 Accabonac Road, East Hampton, New York, 11937.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So since last time we received the comments from the Historical Preservation Committee, and they seem okay with the proposal as proposed.
Yes, yes, the board has received that. And then we have something from you as well, Billy. Where you mentioned, you talked last meeting about it for the board. So I think at this point, we are at the point that we can close this hearing. If everybody is comfortable with that.
I just want to say, thank the Preservation Committee for their report, and I think it's very helpful to have that as part of our record for the consideration of matters in the historic districts.
I agree. So can I have a motion to close the
So
hearing
moved.
in a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank you. Okay, next are new hearings. EH 226 LLC, 226 Further Lane. Is there someone here?
I'll
Great.
read the notice.
Yes, if Pam can read the notice, that'd be great.
Application of EH 226 LLC, Suffolk Tax Map Number 301, 5311.5 and 11.6 for a wetlands permit and variance in accordance with Chapter 278 zoning and Chapter 163 freshwater wetlands to install an elevated pedestrian walkway. A freshwater wetlands permit and variances of 84 feet and 61 feet are required to construct an elevated walkway 66 feet from wetlands and to clear vegetation 64 feet from wetlands where structures are required to meet a 150-foot setback and clearing is required to meet a 125-foot setback from wetlands. The subject property is 203,913 square feet in size and is located at 226 Further Lane. The property is located in Residence District R160, and this project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SECRA.
Great.
Good morning, Nika Strunk, Nika B. Strunk PLLC, 37 Windmill Lane, Southampton, New York, for the applicant. And I'm here today with Sabrina Kelly from InterScience. As the notice said, this is an application for a wetlands variance. I'm just gonna. This is obviously an aerial survey there. So the property is a flagpole lot off of Further Lane, totaling 203,913 square feet, which is about 4.6 or 4.7 acres. The upland area of the property is developed with a residence and accessory structures, including a garage, swimming pool, and tennis court. The upland work was completed on site between 2018 and 2021. There is a certificate of occupancy issued in 2021. The southerly portion of the property is undeveloped and is vegetated with coastal semi-woodland habitat. The property has a freshwater wetlands pocket, which is located at the southern portion of the property in the undeveloped dune woodland area. The property directly south of 226 Further Lane is owned by the Nature Conservancy, and there is a mutual access easement allowing for 226 Further Lane to access the beach on the east side of the Nature Conservancy property. At the current time, there is a maintained at-grade path through the dune areas, through the dune area that the owners use to access the beach, and that path is located both on their property and on the Nature Conservancy property. So what is proposed is to construct a raised, light-penetrating, non-treated beach access boardwalk extending from the developed portion of the lot to the southeast corner of the parcel to provide better access to the beach. The boardwalk would terminate near the southeast corner of the property and would connect to the existing footpath that extends through the Nature Conservancy property. At its closest point, the walkway will be 66 feet from the wetlands, where 150 feet is required pursuant to the village code. The walkway has been designed by LaGuardia Design in the most effective position to grant the most distance from the wetlands while also following the contours of the property and avoiding as much existing mature vegetation as possible. So it begins at the seaward portion of the residence and again terminates at a point near where it will connect to the existing at-grade walkway path. It should be noted that the New York State DEC issued a permit for the proposed boardwalk in February 2022. We've submitted a construction plan that details the construction process and the mitigation efforts that will be made prior to any clearing or construction. A project limiting silt fence will be erected, and the fence will immediately surround the proposed walkway location to minimize the site disturbance. This will signify the limit of clearing, grading, and ground disturbance. Since the site is wooded, selective cutting of any trees and vegetation would need to occur to install the boardwalk. All cutting and clearing activities will be done with hand tools only, so that site disturbance is kept to an absolute minimum. All material will be disposed of properly in an upland location. And then once the area is cleared, the installation of the raised boardwalk will commence. The boardwalk will be installed by post hole digging and wood pilings by hand. It will be raised, light penetrating, and made of untreated mahogany wood, with the top of the walk being 30 inches to 48 inches above grade. Now, having this boardwalk raised and light penetrating will improve the opportunity for native plantings to grow below, which will protect the wetlands and stabilize the dune. And we submit that it is preferable to continuing to use the existing at-grade path in which no vegetation can grow. And so once the boardwalk installed, the area on either side of the project limiting fence will be revegetated with native plantings and above ground temporary irrigation for 2 years to promote establishment of plantings. So while the proposed action is within the wetlands regulated area, it is not expected to produce any significant adverse impacts to the wetlands due to the minimized disturbance to the area and the mitigation efforts put in place, as well as the very minor nature of the structure itself. We'd also like to point out that the adjacent eastern and western parcels, which you can see on that aerial photograph, include walkways of similar design. So what we're proposing is what we submit consistent with the neighborhood. To just review the standards for granting permits under section 278-7C of the Village Code. The first question is, will proposed work produce an undesirable change to the neighborhood? And again, as I pointed out a second ago, the adjacent properties on both sides have some single-family residences and also contain boardwalks leading from the residence to the beach. So it's our position that this is entirely consistent with the character of the neighborhood. Second question is there a practicable alternative that sites the boardwalk in a location that would not require an area variance from the wetlands? And the answer to that is no. Given the location of the wetlands and the 150-foot setback, there is no location on site that would avoid the regulated area. However, as explained previously, the walkway has been designed to minimize site disturbance and provide superior access, both environmentally and for the purpose of the family, to the beach path through the property owner's land. And again, to avoid, to the extent possible, the need to clear any large trees that exist. Number 3, is the requested area variance substantial? And our answer to that is no, given the minor nature of the structure, the presence of similar structures in near proximity, and there being no conforming location for an elevated walkway to access the beach, the proposed area variance is not substantial. And we also would like to note that Chapter 124 of the Village Code states that along the southerly boundary of the incorporated village of East Hampton, between the easterly side of Old Beach Lane and the easterly boundary of the incorporated village of East Hampton, the following restrictions shall apply. I'm quoting from section 124-1B. To C, it says no building constructing, erecting, reconstructing, enlarging, altering, or placing any structure or other improvement whatever in or upon land, except for elevated walkways constructed solely for pedestrian use and built by a property owner for the sole purpose of providing non-commercial pedestrian access to the beach. So that is what we're proposing here, and that is what is considered by your code to be the proper method for crossing this area. And my understanding, even though I didn't, I don't know the drafters of the code, my understanding is that it's the village's position in general that elevated walkways are better for the stability of the dunes and vegetation than at grade pathways. So that's why we're proposing it. It's all there. We also have a family in this situation, which has 3 generations. There are young children, and there's also elderly parents of my clients whose mobility is limited, and this will really help them to be able to access the beach. Then question number 4 is, will the proposed area variance have an adverse effect or impact on the wetlands or the physical character of the site? And we say the answer to that is no, given the proposed mitigation measures and the design of the boardwalk with the project, with all the construction mitigation that I described, we don't see any adverse impact to the wetlands from this. 5 is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the Board of Appeals, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of an area variance. And in this case, the site topography, the presence of the wetlands is not a result of any actions taken by the homeowner. And given the location of the eastern and western lot lines, this is really the only way that an elevated walkway can be constructed. So in summary, I think we've met all the criteria for the granting of a wetlands variance. I know there was a memo which we reviewed from Mr. Hayek, and we're completely willing to make any conditions on this that the board feels are appropriate as his memo may have recommended. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions at this time?
Just a question to Billy, if you could just go through the recommendations you have for the record.
Sure. Morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the board, Billy Hayek for the Village of East Hampton. I have prepared a very brief memorandum to the board dated February 7th, describing the proposed project. I agree with the applicant's presentation here. I think it's fairly benign in terms of its potential impact on the wetland, and the recommendation that I offered for if the board is inclined to grant approval for it, would be that they provide us with written notification prior to and after the commencement, prior to commencement and after the project is completed. That's just to keep tabs on correct installation of the project limiting fence and to verify they're maintaining their site disturbance. I think the construction protocol was fairly thorough, and I would just reiterate that the board should reinforce that as a condition of the approval. If they are going to install any revegetation, they should provide us with a plan so that we can verify that the vegetation being installed is compatible with the dune environment. And just reinforce that the boardwalk is to be no wider than 4 feet and no taller than 4 feet above grade for the decking.
Great. One question I have regarding the vegetation or revegetation, is that something that we can inspect later on once the clearing has been done and we can see what has to be done? Obviously, they're not going to know what is required at this point. But
yeah, the proposed clearing window is fairly limited. It's only 18 inches on either side of the deck. So, personally, I think it'll probably be fine to allow it to revegetate naturally. If they want to accelerate that and plant some vegetation, that would be fine. I would just want to see a plan that to verify that the vegetation they install is
is that something we can do with a possible third inspection once the clearing is done?
Yeah, I think,
That maybe you can
Yeah.
stop by and see if there is a need for
sure.
a revegetation plan. If that's okay with the applicant?
All fine.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns? Is there anyone in the audience that would here that would like to speak? No? Okay. I would entertain the motion, please. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda is 53 Lily Pond Lane, or Lily Pond LLC, 53 Lily Pond Lane. Is the applicant here?
Application of 53 Lily Pond LLC, subcounty tax map number 301-1313-2 for area variances from chapter 278 zoning to construct a swimming pool and pool house. A 20-foot variance is requested from section 278 3A5C to construct a swimming pool 20 feet from the side yard lot line where the required setback is 40 feet. Variances of 20.1 feet and 20 feet are required from section 278 385C to construct a pool house 19.9 feet from a side yard lot line and 20 feet from a rear yard lot line where the required setbacks are 40 feet. The subject property is 40,400 square feet in area and is located at 53 Lily Pond Lane in Residence District R160. This project is classified as a type 2 action in accordance with SECRA.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Industrian 21 Nappy Harbor Road, Amagansett, New York.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Vice Chair and members of the board. I'm Britton Bistrian here today representing 53 Lily Pond LLC by way of Richard Cohen and Patricia Duff for their residence at 53 Lily Pond Lane. They're in pursuit to construct a pool and a pool house at their residence. There is not one currently. The parcel's on the south side of Lily Pond Lane, has 150 feet of road frontage, and it's just under an acre in area. The lot is somewhat oddly shaped in that most of it is rectangular until you reach the southern end, and it's almost like somebody had taken a bite out of the back of it. The width is reduced by half for a course of about 75 feet. This irregularity, coupled with the existing house setback 95 feet from Lily Pond Lane, is what serves as our practical difficulty in siting a pool and a pool house conforming to the dimensional setbacks of the village code. As the board is aware, a pool and a pool house needs to meet double setbacks, and in this case, it's 40 feet. We met this setback on the eastern property line, but are requesting a reduction in the standard accessory setback of 20 feet on the southern and western property line in the southernmost section of this parcel. The purpose of the double setback in the code is for the protection and added separation to neighboring property owners. In this case, the southern lot line adjoins the property owned by Dr. Wayne and Patricia Isom at 9 Drew Lane, and the western lot line adjoins the parcel of Jim Ziron and Marlene Hass at 59 Lily Pond Lane. Both of these neighbors have reviewed the proposal in front of you exactly as it's shown, and have submitted letters to your file supporting the application. I just want to confirm that you have a letter in the file from Dr. Isom and the Marlene Hess and Jim
Yes.
Ziron?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have two separate
They
letters.
both
you
signed
don't-
it.
I have another copy.
It's one letter that they both signed.
No, that's, is that
I think you're referring to the ISOM letter,
Isom letter?
which we did receive.
On May 2nd.
That's,
I have a November 2nd from the Ziron Hess family and January 25th from the Isoms.
We
Okay.
got that from Pam,
Okay.
email.
Great.
So I just thought that was important to note that the two neighbors that are impacted with the reduced setbacks have both submitted letters, and they were thoughtful letters. The Isoms noted that their concern, given to the proximity to their property, was the impact on their privacy and potential reverberation of conversations and other sounds. But they have been assured by the client and the contractor, John Hummel, and the landscape architect, Eric Groff, that this will be mitigated. All construction nodes will be mitigated with a sound barrier. And at the end, they will be planting a pretty heavily vegetated buffer to their property line. The Jim Ziron and Marlene Hess said the neighbor's property is a flag lot, which I pointed, it's not a flag lot, but irregular lot. We feel that the zoning development guidelines are restrictive for this unique shaped property. We support the requested variance to build the swimming pool and pool house. This will not impact us or the character of the neighborhood, and we support their pursuit. To further balance this request, because I feel that, mitigation is always good to offer to a zoning board. We have a pre-existing non-conforming garage, which is about approximately 5 feet off our eastern lot line and 6 feet off of our southern lot line. It's approximately 590 square foot garage, legally existing, and we're proposing to remove that as part of the mitigation with this project. We feel that this mitigation is significant for the variance request, and as well, we hope the board gives weight to the support of the 2 impacted neighbors. And in this instance, we feel that the benefit to the applicant strongly outweighs any potential detriment to the neighborhood. Other than that, I stand ready to answer any questions that you have.
I have one question, and you might have mentioned it already. The pool equipment, is that going in the basement?
In the
of pool
basement of
house?
the proposed pool house. Yes, that's noted on the survey.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Any comments from the public?
I don't see anybody that's gonna say anything from the public in the audience.
I had one question. Where was the sound barrier fencing going? Is it both?
That's going to
boundary
be
lines?
during construction, so it'll be along the 2 impacted property lines, the western property line where it says 72.22 and the southern property line, the southernmost property line on the
Right.
parcel, that sort of L-shaped area.
And that's temporary.
The sound fencing is temporary, the landscaping is permanent. And if you would like to write that into the decision, that'd be acceptable as our plan.
Okay,
I just want to say for the record, it's having reviewed the application and the site and looking at the site, there are real constraints here in terms of meeting the criteria and of the existing code criteria. And the fact that the neighbors are in support of the variance being granted is material, but I just want to be clear for the record that it's not dispositive. If there were an alternative location that met the criteria of the zoning, the fact that the neighbors supported it would not be dispositive for the variance in its own right. But in this case, there is a real constraint with the property and the fact that the mitigation, and which I think is also good to have the non-conforming pre-existing garage removed as part of the action. That there's a good faith effort to stay within the spirit and the context. So it's all material. I find this a reasonable request.
okay, great. With that being said, I would ask for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
A second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Britton. Does anyone else have anything to add to the agenda? If not, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.